Hi, I'm Stephen Hand from Archery Supplies, and this is the 2022 Darton Tempest 3D. Darton produces a whole range of bows. The Tempest is their target 3D version. They also have the Tempest. So 3D is a little bit shorter. It's 36 inches axle-axle. The Tempest is 37 and a little bit axle-axle, so a little bit longer. The brace height on the Tempest 3D is 6.5, and the Tempest, the longer version, is 7 and about a quarter. The draw length on this bow is 25 to 30 inches with a rotating module, so that's nice. It means you don't need to buy any more modules, it just works. The mass weight on this bow, it's quite heavy, 5.1 pounds, so it's quite a physically heavy bow. Speeds on this, they're predicting between 320 and 325. The Tempest is going to be about 10 feet per second less, between 315 and 310. Now the difference is not in axle-axle, it's in the brace height. So the brace height in the Tempest is basically almost 1 inch longer, so you're losing 1 inch of power. So that's about 10 feet per second. The shorter brace height obviously giving you more speed, but it should make the bow a little bit more twitchy when you're aiming, so a little bit more shake you'll feel left to right. That's my theory. The bow comes in camo as an option or a paint finish. This is the black, so this is the black paint. It also comes in, like, I think red, white, maybe blue. And it does have the option of different coloured limbs. The different colours are going to cost you more money, the black being the cheapest. I think I've got this bow for about $15.50. That's Australian dollars at the moment. My competitors have it for $18.50. I'm not slagging my competitors. In America, the bow sells for, I think, about $1,200 American dollars. So, bit about the bow. Cable stop here, so this is the rotating module. This is pretty standard, what you see on most bows when you rotate the module. The module system's very similar to most companies, so you'll be familiar with it. There's numbers on the back here, which tells you that the top and bottom is the same. It's currently set on number 2. So number 2, number 1 being the shortest. So number 2 would put this bow at 26 inches out the factory. Darton, why do you do that? Why do you do out of the factory at 26 inches? Like, do what everyone else does, make them 29 inches, because the average bloke walking into the shop is going to be 29 inches. 9 out of 10 people are going to be 29 inches. Set the bows on 29 inches, make everyone's life easy instead of making everyone's lives hard and going, what draw length is this? So moving this module to number 9 will be 30 inches, so we're going to have to move this to number 8. Oh, sorry, that's number 6. So we're going to move to number 5. What's different on this bow is the Yolk system. The bow Yolk system is different to the Darton Maverick. The Darton Maverick had a standard Yolk system which comes off here with a Yolk system off the cams, I think. This is different. It's off the edge here, but then they wrap it around this little thing here and they push it back up to the cam. Now as you draw this bow back, this is going to slide through this Yolk system. So it's sliding through here and through the cable slide and through the bottom one. So you've got 3 bits of movement. That's quite unique. I don't know another bow which does it. The cable slide's a bit unique. So this cable here that I'm moving is normally set into a place. So that one there is normally set into a place. With this cable slide, it moves backwards and forwards. I was checking James Lutz, who's a Darton pro shooter who wins lots of stuff with a Darton Tempest. I don't know if it's a Darton Tempest 3D or the Darton Tempest he shoots. He shoots this cable slide. He doesn't fit a roller slide. I don't know how you go fitting a roller slide, whether you can or whether Darton do this movement, because at full draw these cables are going to come together like that and a roller slide would stop that and cause more wear on the cables. That's my guess. Now, some things which are a bit unique with this bow. They say this rises a 7075 something rather. That means nothing to me, so I don't know what that means. But it's funny in their bits it goes, this riser has been stretched. So I'm thinking of stretched Armstrong, and it's been stressed or something like that. And I'm like, I don't know what this means. I've never seen it. I don't know what that means. So Darton claims this riser's more less likely to flex than a normal riser. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. So that's what they claim. Now, the sight holes. You've got two positions for sight holes. This is a painted riser. To fit this sight onto this riser, I had to tap the screws out because the paint was in the screws and I couldn't get the screws into the riser. So if you're going to buy one of these, bear in mind you might have to tap them out. So don't go off at the shop and say, came from latest out of the factory. I don't check the stuff before I send it out. It is out of the factory. I think Darton should have checked it. I don't think I should have to tap. I don't think I should have to tap them before I send them out with all bows. Like, if you're going to get a bow, get the shop to set it up if they don't charge you. I don't charge to set up bows. Get people to fit the stuff for you and make your life easy so that way they'll have the problem and not you. The arrow rest, the paint got in there. Also, I did get the bolt to work, but you're probably going to have to tap that out as well. Is that common with painted risers? Yeah, like it's a common issue. Now, the paint finish, let's just find a couple of spots. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but in the sun, it's not completely flat. You can kind of see some runs in the paint work. There's a run there. Now, with paint, there was a guy on one of the forums today complaining about the paint finish on a bow. I get so many complaints about paint finishes, and I don't care which brand of bow you've got, so it's the way life has always been. I've been selling archery gear for 40 years. It's paint. If you bolt stuff to paint, chances are when you unbolt it, the paint's going to come off. If you've got a ring on your finger, if you're married, if you've got a ring on your finger, and that ring touches the paint, it's going to chip the paint. That's not a warranty. I mean, you might try and claim a warranty on it, but it's not a warranty. Like, I'd probably talk to Darton and see what they'd do about it, but I'm telling you, it's like you chip the thing with your ring, right? So the guy on this forum, he wrapped his bow, which is quite normal, with grip tape. When he took the grip tape off, the paint came off. Now, there was people on there saying, well, when you take the grip off, you heat up the grip with a hairdryer so it comes off and the glue doesn't adhere so much. Keep the grip tape on there when you sell the bow. Like, it's as soon as you adhere stuff to paint, you have the chance of the paint coming away. I painted a whole bunch of risers. Painting risers is not simple. It's metal. This is probably a powder coat finish. I've done powder coat finishes before. It was hit and miss. I went through so many powder coat companies to get the things, and I had some success and I had some failures. Sometimes the guy was perfect and sometimes it wasn't perfect. So anyway, this is a painted finish. If you're worried about paint, anodized risers. Anodized risers are pretty bulletproof. Sometimes you'll see them fade, but generally they're pretty bulletproof. So it is what it is. But look, with painted risers, sure as anything, the shop is going to get complaints about a painted riser. It is what it is. These are a Gordon glass limb. Gordon glass limbs are used by literally everybody. They're the standard in the industry these days. The limbs are reinforced here, so this is meant to stop you if you dry fire the bow, the limb pulling out from the axle here. Darton say what size axle this is. It doesn't seem to be a thick axle compared to the PSE axle. This seems to be more of a standard size. I don't know if it's bigger or smaller. The limb pockets are machined. They look quite nice. They have a lock-in system just there to stop the limb pocket moving out, which is that coming loose when you shoot, so you can lock it in place. That's quite nice. You can see the bolt in the back, so you can see how much more you can wind it in and wind it out with the bolt in the back. I like that. It's, some companies cover that up. The little side plates here, these are little plastic stickers. It is what it is. The writing, the Tempest, whether you like it or not, I don't know. Look, I think it looks all right. One draw stop down the bottom. You can't adjust it. You can't adjust your cable guard. Cable guard is set. There's two screws there to hold it in place, so it's held in place twice. It has a limb stop, which is not activated at the moment. To activate that, you just move it, and this is going to hit the limb. so you can create 2 sets of feels. Now I shot the Maverick, and this draw stop was very solid, so I'm not sure you'll get the variation that you can get with other bows. Like PSE, you move the draw stop backwards and forwards to change the length of the valley. With the elite bows, you can change the whole draw cycle of the bow, whether you're using draw stops, whether you're using limb stops or cable stops. You can turn the cable stop off, turn the limb stop on. Gives you all the functionalities. Now in the Darton little thing down here on this little brochure down the back, bottom here, which I think would be good to have the stats on, it says it's not all about gadgets. It's not all about gadget frills and exaggerated claims. It's about quality, solid engineering and performance. Don't you wish I had my glasses on? So what Darton's is saying is, look, we make a solid bow and it's going to last. Darton has made bows over a number of years, and they're one of the old manufacturers, and they have been pretty solid over time. I think this is a bit of a gadget. No one else has got it, and Darton is always, a lot of the patents in the industry are owned by Darton. So from Rex, the original designer of these, a lot of his patents are his. They're used by a lot of companies. So, and there's some debate about which patents you should be using. I'm not going to go into it. I don't know anything about patents. So when people go, oh, well, that patent applies. How do I know? I'm not a patent lawyer. I don't look up patents. So anyway, the grip. The grip is very square. So with the elite grip, it kind of narrows in and it's rounded at the top here. The PSE grips are kind of rounded on the edges here. Hoyt grips are different for their target bows to their hunting bows. Their target bows are quite narrow and they're kind of a bit rounded here. The Bowtechs are quite square. This grip is very unique. I don't know whether I like it, and I think I was like that with the Mavericks before I shot it. If I just picked this bow up, I generally wouldn't like it, so let's shoot it and see what we think of it. I'm going to try this bow with the draw length set as it is at 26 inches, just in case there's a whole bunch of shorter people who appreciate the fact that Darton set all their bows at 26 inches. So this is the bow should be set at 60 pounds. It's fully wound up. I've got a whisker biscuit and just a basic sight. This is a gold tip velocity arrow. It weighs 327 grains. So it's quite solid right from the start. It's dropping. I'm just going to let that down. Oh. Now, when you let this down, see the cable guard, you're going to run into your fist. So just be careful of that, and I was careful with that. So the draw cycle is quite solid, and then it drops off. It feels quite good. Feels very different to the Maverick felt at the short draw length. I'm not sure if I'm a big fan of this cable guard in that position, but I assume it's to maximize the clearance and stop all the cams coming out of whack, the strings coming off of the cams. So the big problem with bows, compound bows, they want to move these cables away for you, so you got clearance of the arrow, but by doing that you're pulling the strings and cables away from the cams when you draw the bow back, and that creates all sorts of problems. They've had shoot-through systems in the past. That's a problem for hunters because they're going to thread their broadhead through sets of cables. So we are at what we're at too. I'm going to take the shot. .268 feet per second. The bow felt quiet. My thumb was coming up against here. So here's not, the edge here's a bit round. It's not square. So that was coming up here. So I was feeling a bit of pressure on the side there. It didn't feel fast. There was a slight bounce coming forward. We'll shoot, these are my target arrows. These are VAPs. 350 spine with 140 grain point. I think they weigh 370 or something like that. So these would be quite considerably slower. 246. The feel's not bad. It jumps forward. The Maverick definitely didn't have that. It feels like more of a target bow. What I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust the draw length to 29 inches, and we're going to try this again. The draw stop at the back is very solid, so you get back there and it's solid, which is what then I'm a bit confused by the limb stop, because it's so solid with the draw. I don't know the purpose of this. Well, I do, because some people like limb stops, but it feels so solid when you get back there. So let me adjust this to 29 inches and see what sort of speeds we get. Okay, so I've set the Darton Tempest 3D to 29 inches with the modules. So you can say, look, rotating modules are part of the game and like everyone has them. These modules are so easy. They're really, really good. But the thing I like about them, the heads of the module, the heads of the screw are deep. So you're not going to strip them out when you're changing the draw length. A lot of companies have very small little Allen keys and you strip them out when you're trying to adjust the module, because they're screwed on so tight and you can't get them undone and they strip. These are quite deep. They're very, very good. They're put in place by a pin, so they go to the exact spot. Really like that. Very simple. The only thing I can say is you don't have the adjustability that you do with like the PSE, where you can move the draw stop forward or back. But the end of this draw stop here is very solid, and I'm a big fan of it. So some of the draw stops are so narrow and the cable hits and it can go past and you can get the 100% let off and all that sort of stuff. Or the cable goes between the spots. I really like this module. It's a nice module. Now Darton also does do the Tempest in a long draw version, so it basically means bigger cams if you're taller. So let's see how this feels. The Maverick felt completely different at 29 inches as opposed to 26. So let's see how this feels. Okay, so it starts off easier at the start. The 26 inches, it feels harder at the start. This feels easier at the start. So it feels like it's kind of gaining power, if you know what I mean. Like it feels like it's building up slowly at the start. So it feels like it's building here. Now it feels like it's about to dropping. So back here it's a very solid wall. It feels long for 29. That's 271, and that was I'm guessing that was a VAP. 271. Quite a bit of shock moving forward when you shoot this bow. You can see the balance of the bow is back heavy. That's because they expect you to shoot a stabilizer with this bow. So they're expecting you to put stabilizer weights on, which means you don't need as much weight on the back. The front, which is the front stabilizer weight, which is out the front here, is what's stopping you moving left to right. So you want all the target bows should generally be balanced backwards like this, because you're going to want to put the weight at the front, not at the back. So we're going to shoot the gold tip velocity, 327 grains. So they expect this bow to be 325. It doesn't feel like a 325. It doesn't feel like a speed bow, that's for sure. 325 is not fast. It's really in their target realm kind of draw cycle. So how does this bow feel as far as easiness to draw? Easiest to draw, that sounds a bit weird, probably not good English. Probably not. So the Hoyt is much harder. It's a different draw cycle to the other bows. Your PSE is very smooth, and the PSEs, it's more like an EM cam than the SE cam, so it's more kind of that as opposed to a smoother draw. The Elite's a smoother draw. It's kind of more like a Bowtech, I'm going to say. That just made a really scary noise. It's a noise I've never heard before. That's why manufacturers probably don't like me doing tests. I drew it back, and at full draw I could hear this creaking it, and it sounded like the limbs were about to break. Saying that, limbs are pretty bulletproof, but I am scared to pull the bow back because that didn't sound very good at all. Now, if I was at work, I'd put the bow on a bow press. I'm not at work, I'm at home, because I didn't want customers walking in while I'm doing a bow review. I'm not sure what that creaking was. It came from the top, and it was very scary. I don't know if you've seen warning signs. If you're shooting a bow, wear glasses. That's what I'm feeling right now. Look, it looks fine. I can't see any marks anywhere, but there was a noise. Now, sometimes when you hear noises, it can be the module settling in, like just grabbing into spots. It could have been a screw just grabbing. Because that was literally the first time, well, that was the second time I drew this bow. But if you hear noises, always be careful. Seems fine, there's no noise. Now, when you draw a bow back with your fingers have to be straight up and down. If you do this, when you pull the bow back, because you've got 80% let off, if you twist your hand, the string's going to come off the bottom cam here. And it's going to come off on this side of the cam. And when it comes off this side of the cam, it's going to rip the side of the cam off, and it's going to damage the strings. So if you ever draw back a bow with your fingers, and I would suggest not to, but if you draw back with your fingers, make sure they're straight up and down. And don't go in the shop and say, yes, I used a release aid. Because it's going to be ripped off one side of the cam. And if you're going to say, well, how often does this happen to you? It happens all the time, literally every week. It's like... So when I draw it back with my fingers are straight up and down. I'm extremely careful with it. Right, so let's try this again. You don't get this on other videos, and whether you should or shouldn't is another question, but whether I should cut that out. Now, I don't cut this stuff out because as a user, as a consumer, if you hear a noise, I want to say, well, actually, be careful, check stuff out, but you've got to be careful as well. Because a noise, like I was careful the next time, I would put it ideally on a draw board and check it. But it might be just stuff settling in. Which is why I think the bow should come set at 29 inches from the factory. .296. So I'm not getting the speed. There's no more noise. And although my heart's racing, my heartbeat went up to 122 beats per second. Although my heartbeat was racing, there was no more noise, and I feel okay. So, but we're going to continue shooting this bow, so you will see if this bow does explode or not as the review goes on. Because I would publish it, and I'd probably lose the Darton dealership in the process. But I think that's just, the way it is. As a bow manufacturer, I think if stuff goes wrong, then they should test it before sending it out. Because the number of bows we get where we've got to fix them and stuff, I'm just moving up. This is for the peep sight. That's in the way of my sight. So I'm going to sight the bow in. We're going to shoot at 18 and see how well we shoot with it. I am getting a bit of vibration jumping forward when I shoot. That will go with stabilizers. So some of that will go, and that's quite common for target bows. Your hunting bows will have more parallel limbs. Your Matthews has got a parallel limb. So when you shoot a Matthews, it's very stable. It's very dead in the hand. This limb design is very much like your Super Focus, PSE Super Focus. It's got feedback. A lot of target archers want feedback. They want the bow. They want feel in the shot. The Darton Maverick does not feel like this bow feels when you shoot it. This feels like a target bow. So let me sight this bow in and let's see how well I shoot at 18. You can hopefully see the arrow holes in the target I've sighted this bow in. Hopefully. So there's a fair bit of vibration forward when I shoot. So it's a bit like a Supra. I don't know what's going to be like with stabilizers when you shoot it. But it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see how well I shoot with it. James Lutz obviously shoots extremely well with this bow because he obviously wins most things he enters. So let's see how we go. So I'm going to say the pin is very stable. It's not moving around. I'm not getting any of that sort of stuff. That first arrow was not great. But the sight pin seems very stable. Now, a few years ago, I literally owned all the Darton bows. And I used to really like the Darton bows. I like the finish. I like the engineering. I like the price point. Now the price point of this bow is about, as I said, about $1,550 Australian, which puts it lower than the other target bows in the market. Hoyt is around $2,500. The Elite Result I think is around the $1,800. The PSE Super is around the $1,800. Bowtech is I think around the $2,500. So this bow is significantly cheaper than the other target bows on the market. And I think it's pretty much justified. And I'm not having to go at the bow, and I probably sound like I am. The Elite has got lots of adjustability. I'm going to say the paintwork is finer. We've got a lot more color options. To me, the Elite Result looks like a more expensive bow. The PSE is either a paint in the white or an anodized finish. It looks like a flashier bow than this bow in my view. The Hoyt is it Ultra? I don't see many of them. Ultras. I literally haven't seen any of them. I did a review on one. I'd say it's pretty much on par with that as far as the paint finish. It looks very similar. And when I did the Hoyt review on that bow, Ultra. I said that. I said I wasn't impressed with the paint finish. But I think the bow draws back easier than the Hoyt. It's got more adjustability and draw length than the Hoyt, and obviously about half, well, not half the price, but a good old $1,000 cheaper than the Hoyt. Now, just on that, we used to have lots of Hoyt shooters in this state who were sponsored by Hoyt, and for one reason or another, they're no longer sponsored by Hoyt. Anyway, it was interesting for me what bows they brought after they lost their Hoyt sponsorship. So with the Hoyt sponsorship, Hoyt gave them a bow. So when their sponsorship was over, they sold the bow and they brought a bow. One of the shooters brought one of these. Without testing it, without trialing it, he just purchased it. And he did a post on Facebook, which I saw. I said, I like this bow, but I haven't seen him shoot it since, and I haven't seen any posts about it. So So I'm going in blind to this review. Now the grip here, I said it was touching up there when I first started. It's not touching there now. And it's actually fitting quite nice because it's square, quite nice with my thumb. So it's a different grip. And again, I said, well, maybe the Elite is my favorite grip. And then I'm like, oh, maybe I like the PSE because I'm so used to PSE. And Bowtech's got quite a nice grip too, so... The thing is, most bows are very similar. I feel like I'm grouping really extremely well down there. As good as I shoot my recurve. I don't know if I am or aren't because I can't see. But I've been shooting the recurve extremely well, like in the past few nights. Like last night I was out here shooting, my last group was 9 10s and 2 9s with a recurve. Like really, really good for me. Like it's just jumped. Well, that one I moved a little bit on the shot. But I'm going to say the sight pin feels very stable. Now the bow is 5.1, so that's going to make you feel a little bit more stable, less likely to move. Whoa. And that was all me. I spoke too early. I'm like, am I shooting this thing really well? And it's like, no, I'm not. I feel like there's, as I'm drawing this bow back, it's noticeable for me the friction I'm getting with the cams. And when I say the cams, it feels like I'm getting friction in the cams. And it's not. What it is, it's this yoke system. It's this cable rolling through this yoke. You can feel it in the draw cycle. So normally you can only feel it through the cable slide, but I can definitely feel it through the yokes. That's it, kick. The bow itself is quite quiet, there's no vibration, although there is a jump. I'm going to say the jump could be the worst. I think the Hoyt jumps a bit, I think the PSE jumps a little bit. The result jumps, the bow that jumps the least is the Matthews because it's got parallel limbs. And then I think it's the result. And then I think it's probably, actually the Bowtech might be better. But then like it's the PSE and the Hoyt are very similar with the vibration forward. This I feel like it's got more vibration forward. So when James shoots his amazing scores that he shoots, and I shoot this bow, I understand why he does. The grip it feels very repeatable to me. At full draw, this bow is rock solid and it feels like it's in place. The bow feels solid at full draw. It feels very, very repeatable. It just feels like every shot's the same. So you're not getting the fancy roller slides, you're not getting the fancy flexi cable slides, you're not getting the fancy cable guards that move in or out. You're not getting that stuff. You're not getting the cams that move left to right. You're not getting limb pockets that rotate to, you can adjust for your left and right tuning. You're not getting that stuff. But the bow itself feels very, very repeatable. Last arrow. was a bit of wind on that shot, so I don't know how that went. Let's go down and have a look. Okay, so I'm up here at the target, and like that group in the middle there is obviously not horrible. It's very, very good. The arrows are very tight. I've got 3 arrows outlining the groups, and we discussed that when I shot those shots. The 7-inch brace height will make these outliers probably a little bit better. However, you're going to sacrifice about 10 feet per second. So if you're doing 3D archery, field archery, you're going to give up a little bit of speed. And even for target archery, you're going to give up a little bit of speed for that extra brace height. I don't know which bow James is shooting. I don't know if it's a 3D or just the normal Tempest. It makes it hard. As far as which bow to choose, do I want the extra speed or do I want that extra brace height? Okay, so the things I really liked about the bow, the price point is pretty good because it's cheaper than the other bows in the marketplace, and it's very solid and dependable as far as like it's easy to adjust the draw length. The bow just pulls back, shoots well. You've got to like the grip. So the grip is very unique, so I'd want to feel that grip before you buy one. Think about the paint things I've discussed. You know, because if that paint chips and then you're going to go, geez, the paint chipped, I didn't expect that. No, I told you the paint could chip. And the same with film dipping. When they film dip a boat, it's just a film, they put it into a bath, they pull it out of a bath, it's covered in camo. That stuff will wear with time. Look, the paint doesn't worry me. I've got some white Supras that are painted and they do get chips. It doesn't worry me because I'm more interested in shooting than the thing looking nice. I think that would be a fairly hardy thing, but once again, paint can come off away from the riser, and I've had it happen on every brand. I'm not picking Darton. I'm just saying this is a paint finish, so if the paint comes off, so my summary of the bow, I don't think it's the speed I would like for a 3D bow. I think I'd like the bow to be faster. I think the price point's good. The adjustability is excellent. Maybe the best of all the bows as far as adjustability to make life easy for you. The Elite, you've got like you can adjust it 1/8 of an inch or whatever. But it's very hard to do that because you don't know how much you're adjusting it because there's so many settings and you can change the value, you can change everything on it. And I just, for a shop person selling to a customer, it's like, well, getting 1/8 of an inch or a little bit more of an inch, you can be there playing around with it for ages. For the elite shooter, for the archer who's good, who wants to play around with stuff, the elite stuff's great because you can get that fine adjustment. For the average shooter, this is perfect. And obviously James, I'm going to go back to James, wins lots of stuff and shoots, you know, this bow. And so I don't know if you need that fine adjustment, but a lot of people want that fine adjustment. So PSE and Hoyt have only got the 1/2 inch adjustments, and that's what this has got. So the Elite has that fine adjustment. It's clearly in a different price point to Bowtech and Hoyt. I think it's most comparable to Hoyt as far as this bow. I think the Hoyt Altus is its closest competitor, and it's $1,000, close to $1,000 cheaper. I think it's a bit of a no-brainer for me. I think it's also close to the PSE Supra. The thing I like about this PSE Supra, I like the modules that you can plug in, plug off, change high let off, low let off, change things on the Supra. The Supras, there's so many PSE Supras, it's anodized, it's been around forever, there's just hundreds of them on the marketplace. It's like your Toyota Corolla of bows. It's literally on a shooting lineup, every second bow's a Supra, or if you're in my state, every bow's a Supra. So when you buy a Darton Tempest, a bow that people haven't got before, you really don't know how it's going to perform and how it's going to be because there's not a lot of them out there. And that's always a bit of a with a new bow, it's a bit of a like, well, how's this bow going to be in a year? Am I going to be happy with it? What's the issues? You don't know until it's a year to 2 years old. The Supra has been around forever, and that's why it's a big selling bow. However, this bow is very, very similar to a Supra, except for that cable system, the Yolk system, which I would need someone to explain to me the benefits of it, and if it is a benefit, then why haven't you got it on the Darton Maverick and some of the other bows? But it is unique, and like I see the point. I see some points to it. I see why you put this on there to pull this cable around. It just seems complex. I don't know, like, why other people don't have it. I don't know if people will have this. I don't know what happens if this roller here, like, it's obviously a bearing in here. What happens if it gets friction on it? It just raises a lot of questions for me, this system. So there's not much moving parts on it, but it's just a question to me. The rest of the bow I'm happy with. The weight is heavy, but then most of the other bows are heavy as well. Despite the paintwork, you know, there were some blemishes in the paintwork, which you're going to get, as long as you're not going to be upset by that. You can see them much easier in the sun, but you may be happier with an anodized finish than a paint finish. I'm guessing they don't do this bow anodized because of the type of the riser it is. And I don't know what stretching and stressing a riser is. I don't know what that is. I think if Darton put this in, then they should explain what they're doing. Maybe they don't because it's secret squirrel stuff. I mean, when I've seen all risers being built before, they machine them out of a block of steel. There's your riser, it gets anodized, it's done. It's not a rocket science kind of a project. This stretching and stressing a riser, I don't know what that means. So anyway, I like the little numbers here. That's pretty standard on Darton. It tells you the specs of the bow. I like that. Darton's always been really dependable. That's good. So with that, my advice to you, if you want to buy a Darton, and my advice is always, when you go want to buy something, it's really good to go in the shop and look at it and touch and feel. Saying that, and I say this all the time, there's not a lot of shops around because there's not a lot of margin in this stuff. So it is what it is. People go, why is there a shop on the north side? Because there's no money in it. If there was lots of money, then there'd be shops everywhere. It's really good if you can get into touch and feel, but otherwise you're just going to have to go blind luck and watch a review and go, well, is this going to fit me? Look, I wouldn't mind shooting this bow. I would, and with all the bows, I think I would shoot them quite well. I don't think this is a hard bow to shoot. I think the Hoyt Altus is a harder bow to shoot. I think you'd want to be shooting that bow quite a bit to shoot it well. This bow would be quite easy. When you get back there, it's an easy let off, solid well, easy bow to shoot. So to me, it's going to be like, it's probably going to be one of the easier bows to shoot of those target bows. The Supra, the result, you can kind of change everything on it, so you can make the result very easy to shoot. But this is one of the easier of the target bows to shoot because you've got such a distinctive valley and it's such a solid wall to hit. So, and I think the fact that you're going to pay more for colours just makes it confusing for the consumer and for the shops. Because, like, how much more do I have to pay for coloured? And you've got to look up the charts and then calculate it. So I think that makes it a little bit harder, which is why I've got black. I think black and camo are the same price, but you'd have to check that. I'm pretty sure they are. Anyway, Darton Tempest 3D. Darton's now owned by Black Eagle Arrows. I think the staff at the Darton factory are the same staff that have been there for years and years and years. I'm sure this bow is well over engineered. Darton always had a whole thing that everything's well over engineered, which just means it's going to last forever. I mean, of all the Dartons I've sold, you know, I'm going back for 30 odd years, 40 years. I can't think of one failing, even a bow that's 40 years old. They were just over engineered and they just didn't really have any problems. And back at the time, I mean, I sold so many Darton bows, and they'd all still be out in the ether somewhere. They'd all still be shooting, I assume. So anyway, I'm Stephen Hand from Archery Supplies, and remember, the more you shoot, the better you'll shoot. Thanks for watching. Bye.